97.7 The Q and 98 Gold. Welcome into Touhyville. Stephen Sherrill with you here, hanging out on a Thursday morning, and it is Therapy Thursday with Dr. Nicki Monti, hanging out with us. I don't know if folks realize that. So we're on video. You can watch us on Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It does great things for us because it helps people to find us. Also lets advertisers know the folks that are out there listening. But Dr. Nicki actually joins us every. We record this on Tuesday to air on Thursdays. From Los Angeles, right? You're in Los Angeles, is where you're at.
I'm in Los Angeles. Well, I'm in literally Burbank, but yes, California.
Okay. Oh, Burbank is really. I mean, Burbank is Hollywood, really, when it comes to TV shows and movies and a lot of that.
Well,
stuff.
it's a very specific area. Hollywood is Hollywood, and that's over the hill, as we say. But Burbank is its own special little place.
But it's where a lot of the shows are done and things like that. I mean, Burbank is a lot of the
certainly used to be done. Universal Studios is over in this area, and one of the BCs, NBC or ABC, or one of the BCs are over here. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of it feels like we would call it a company town,
Yes.
Everybody that I know, almost nearly everyone I've ever met, certainly people who have their own business or are in a business that everybody's heard of, thinks their business is the business, right? So when people are in show business, they always call it, we're in the business. And I'm, well, there are a lot of kinds of, you're in the radio business. I don't know.
Right.
And this is show business now. It used to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's so okay. So it's funny because we've never really talked about it in this incarnation of the show, but Dr. Nicki has actually had clients that are big time celebrities and things, and I've often tried to get you to tell me names, and of course you won't because that's unethical, to you.
Only the ones I've been on TV with.
The ones on TV with, you're fine. Yeah,
because the jig is up.
Yeah. And then
right.
And one did the foreword for one of your books, didn't they? If I remember right.
Of my very first book, Margaret Cho,
that's who it was.
Comedian Margaret Cho did the foreword. Yeah.
Yes, I did. I knew it was a comedian. I couldn't remember who it was. Yeah. So very, very interesting. So all right. So
we're back from the 4th.
Yes, we're back from the 4th of July.
The 4th. Did you guys celebrate the 4th?
To an extent, yeah.
We always grill, and we always Steve went to his parents earlier that day, and then we always watch the fireworks.
We watched the fireworks. We're in a small town that does fireworks up the road, and we just hung out in our house. We have a little dog, but he's not really bothered by the fireworks, much to our content. We're very happy about that. And it also happens to be my birthday weekend. So we kind of celebrate me. So
you turned 33 this year? Or?
Yeah. Sure. Thank you.
Looking good.
Yeah. Sure. Yep. 51 this year. Yes. So
51.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So, thank you. Yes. So that's what we that was the majority of our weekend. And it's funny because we decided this week we'd talk about the idea of and there's so many that find that when there's a weekend like this, whether it be 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, St. Patrick's Day, Arbor Day, some people find it the need to party. They have to booze it up. They have to, and not just have a cocktail or have a beer, have to go above and beyond.
And and then we have the accessible drugs now that are that like to contribute to. We have the accessible drugs. We still have the sneaky drugs that people have to go to some lengths to get. But then you can pop in some gummies, and you can. I mean, there's a banquet of ways to leave presents anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's I'm always fascinated by what people call fun. I will often ask me, so why do you, and by the way, it's a great, when you have a holiday or what's considered a holiday like that, it's kind of what I call an excuse to get loaded in whatever fashion you do that. And we call that fun. And I'm fascinated by that. I have a story in my book, and it's one of my favorite stories. I'm a sober person. I've been sober for 43 years or something like that. Crazy amount of time. And I was very, very young when I got sober. Not so much, but anyway, and so one of the first experiences I had when I was sober, and when I was first sober, people would say, "Would you like a drink?" And I'd go, "No, I'm an alcoholic," and then I got over myself, and because there's iced tea and coffee,
Right.
there's
other drinks. Yeah.
into that category, but for
Mhm,
me it was,
mhm.
and it mostly was about drugs anyway. But anyway, so I was on this date. Was fairly newly sober. I was on this date, and we were in his apartment because as I say in the book, boundaries came later. So it was the first date, and he said, "Would you like a drink?" And I said, "No, I don't drink." And he said, "You don't drink?" And there was this immediate
Right. Like,
thing,
what? Yeah.
when somebody has that question and they're that perplexed about the notion, you have an alcoholic in front of you. So I said, "No, I don't drink." And he said, "Wait, you never ever drink?" Now we're in it to win it,
Right.
right?
Now, okay. Now we're going to dive in. Yeah.
Now I'm going to have some fun. And I said, no, I was like, maybe, I was certainly in the first year, probably the first 6 months this way. And he said, you never ever drink. What about drugs? I said, "No, I don't do drugs." He said, "Oh, wait a minute. You, you never ever drink and you never ever do drugs?" And I said, "No, I never ever drink and I never ever do drugs." And he said, "What do you do for fun?" And my answer surprised me. Often throughout my life, I will say things I don't really understand when I'm saying them. It comes from a wisdom part of me I didn't even know I had at that moment. And he said, "So what do you do for fun?" And I said, "For fun, I'm present in all my experiences."
Boom.
Boom, date over. So
I was going to say, did you know at the point when he said, like, never ever drink, that you were getting
I
late,
knew.
or what?
And I was just,
The date's done, right? Should I
dates.
call the Uber now
Yeah.
so he could be here by the end of this
By
conversation?
the end of the day, yeah. So I do have part of the book. This is the Divine Dramedy of Nicki that's coming out soon. But I have a part in the book where I talk about I had so many horrifying dates in my life. I was going to write a book called 1001 Unendurable Dates Indefinitely Prolonged. So this would have been in that list.
Yep.
But anyway, this idea that fun is absent from presence became more and more of a mystery along the way. And the truth is, even if we don't drink, we have plenty of ways to leave, creative ways to leave presence. It's not,
Sure.
we can wander off in our minds. We can stuff our faces with food, which is another kind of addiction, and was my very first before I found my mother's pills in her cabinet. But it is the idea of what do we really enjoy, what brings us joy. And for me, connection with people brings me a lot of joy, finding out about people and interesting people. I mean, when Tom is very much like me, and he's even more sober than me, my partner, we go out, we always come home with a story because we talk to the servers. We're interested in people. We just always have a something to learn from somebody or some way to feel connected, even if it's for 5 minutes. And that's joyful to me. That's interesting to me. Watching people suddenly get, I don't find that interesting. I never met anybody who got smarter, funnier, kinder. I mean, might get more somnambulistic, but like really more generous or anything when they're drinking or
Well, it's
sexy.
funny. It's funny you talk about the idea of being interested in people. Um, Cheryl was never an on-air person. She was never for radio or things. But we've now found in the just over the year of her doing the show, she's really good at doing interviews because she has genuine curiosity about the person. And
I
so many
love to
people,
learn about people. Love
Yeah,
it. I
yeah,
love it.
so
yeah.
many people in radio. I mean, when I started doing interviews when I was way younger, I'd have a list of 5 or 7 questions. And I would ask the question, they would get done with their answer, and then I'd go to question 2, and then I'd go to
Oh,
question 3.
yeah.
And now I don't even write down questions. Now I just
Yeah.
I just sit and talk. And if you have a conversation and you listen, you'll hear your next question.
Yes.
And Cheryl's really good at at doing that and coming from a different perspective than I ever did. But it's a genuine curiosity. So it's been a lot of fun over the years. Most of my interviews, I'm doing the majority of it, and the person sitting in Cheryl's chair in whatever station I've been at just sit there while we do the interview. And now I almost intro the interview and then sit back and I have my coffee. And and it's just of doing that. You talk about coming home with a story. We used to have a couple friend that we would get together with once or twice a year, and the entire time was all about where are we headed for the next drink, where are we headed for the next beer, where are we headed, and it was we just finally reached a point where we said this isn't fun for us because we're getting dragged along to wherever the next alcoholic drink is.
Right.
Now I enjoy a beer or two after work every day. I have found a handful of beers that I enjoy the flavor of. I don't drink to the point of a buzz. I don't drink to the point of losing myself. I enjoy the taste of certain things, just like I enjoy the taste of chocolate cake or things like that. Um, but I don't. It doesn't control where I have to go. Like if I didn't have it, it's not a thing. It's
Yeah.
it's it's
Yeah.
just like having pop with a meal. It's just another thing that's there. I enjoy my
Right.
coffee in the morning, um, but uh, but when it's in control of where we're going or changing our good time, that's where I don't grasp, and that's where I would love, and I'm aware that everybody's different. But when it comes to addiction, when it comes to I gotta have it, or it's the excuse that well, we're having a good time. It's got to be a part of the good time. I can't believe you don't drink or do drugs. Like, what is the thing that's driving people to need to have that?
Well,
Or is it
that's
just
it's a super interesting question, and of course, a lot of people are going to have a lot of different answers. There's, and by the way, just to put a little apostrophe at the end of the
yeah,
sentence, we live in a very addiction-driven society. Kids are addicted to screen time. Adults are addicted to screen time. And the likes they get on Insta or Facebook, the endorphin rush they get with that.
sure.
Food, obviously, obesity is off the charts in this country, certainly. And people are addicted. I know people addicted to exercise. I'm not one of them, but I know people addicted.
Not
I
around
visit
here.
it. I visit it several times a week because I know it's good for me. I complain the whole time, and every time I get a new trainer, I say, "Hey, there will be whining." Just and
Right. Does your trainer ever go, don't you just love that burn? And I'm always
no,
like,
she doesn't.
listen,
She
the
doesn't.
answer will be the same now
Now and
till
forever.
I'm dead.
She
No.
does. I do have to say I've started, tracking my steps because, that's what we do here in California.
Sure.
I started tracking my steps and I get disappointed when I don't do enough, and I get, a little bit proud of myself when I do more. But anyway, so I don't mind the walking part. But yeah, I don't know. All the trainers love the exercise part. It's not really a thing, but for me, but I do it. One of my, I met my partner on Hinge, and one of my statements in my thing was, if you're looking for a workout buddy or a hiking partner, move on. don't stop at this.
Right. I'm not that. Yeah. That's funny.
Just walk on by. Anyway, but so we have these addictions. Food is one of the biggest addictions, people have. And a lot of people stuff their feelings with food, and I certainly was one of them throughout much of my life. Or there's porn addiction, there's gambling, it just goes on and on. Okay, so addiction, what is the driver of that? For some things like alcohol and its companions, drugs. There is a gene for alcoholism. So when you have alcoholism in your family, for instance, or addiction in your family of any kind, you really are playing chicken with a truck. Maybe you won't get hit if you go on and you have a beer or two, whatever it is. But eventually, you are likely to get hit because you're playing chicken with a truck. But not everyone who has that gene chooses that path, and it is a choice. It doesn't feel like a choice when we're in it. It doesn't feel like a choice, if I start on a bread basket, if we go out and it doesn't feel like a choice that I'm eating to finish the bread basket. It doesn't feel like that, but it is a choice. It's always a choice. And some choices are harder than others for some people, right? But what the driver is, and the problem with just putting the plug in the jug, is that you're not dealing with the underlying material. There's always things that support, that people, that we're throwing antidepressants at depression. Okay, there are some people who truly do better with antidepressants because they won't get out of bed. They won't function unless they have it. But if even those people, if we don't deal with the underlying issues that support the depression, nothing will ever change. What will happen is those particular antidepressants will work for a while-ish, and then they won't, and then you have to find new ones, and then they won't, and that's what it is. So as that with alcoholism or drug addiction or gambling addiction or food addiction or any of the addictions, that is, I start and I can't stop, or I start and I don't stop, or I have no containment capacities around this. The underlying issues always want to be looked at, and the underlying issues are going to go back to early times. What did we see in our house? How did we feel in our house? How did we manage our feelings? How did we allow our feelings? Were we encouraged to speak about our feelings, to connect? Did we get nurturing? Did we have MIA parents? Did we get helicopter parents? Did we come what they call a broken home? I really dearly hate that phrase. Or people who got divorced. Sometimes that's better than staying together. I can't tell you how many people, by the way, come into my office who say, I prayed every day for my parents to get divorced. It was dreadful. It was dreadful. Staying together, something is not better than nothing. Something is not better than nothing. Yeah. So the underlying issues is for each of us to find. Now, since there are only 7 to 10 stories in the universe, in film, book, mythology, etc., we can find one of our stories. I'm a forgotten person looking for how to be noticed and remembered, or I'm seeking the father I never had, the father-son, father-daughter story, the mother-daughter, mother-son story. All these things are very pertinent. So what is, it sounds arduous, but I think for actually people like Cheryl and I, because we like people, if we like other people, it's easier to like exploring our own psychology or mythology. And I do love to encourage people to discover the myth that they are living out. What are they trying to learn? My whole life has been about learning how to feel lovable, feel like enough, and to be able, therefore, to accept the love that's to invite and accept the love that's coming towards me. That only took like, I don't know, 1,050 years or something like that to work that out.
Yeah.
It was easy, not. And so, we have to look at ourselves, but we have to be honest. I was at my partner and I have never been to a 12-step meeting together. So last night we went for fun because, it's coming up on 4 years and we thought we'd do that just for fun. And we took somebody who's got 6 days of sobriety or something like that. And there were over 400 people there. And the stories were elegantly awful. You know what I mean? They were just dreadful. And one person who told their story came from a family that was loving and fantastic and all of these things. And, why did they go down that road of having a dreadful, torn, just terrible, terrible life? Another person was, brought up in a bad trailer park with a bad trailer and no father, and sloppiness and drunkenness and all of that is all he saw. And his life followed suit. He started being a drunk at 13, and he's in his 50s now, but been sober a while. So and put his life back together, and he kept building it up and tearing it down, and building it up and tearing it down, and all sorts of dreadful things happen. But none of the things that we do when we're making choices to not be present to what we're doing are going to be, few of them are going to be uplifting. They're just not. Most of them are not going to be uplifting. Now, there's a fellow in LA, and I guess he's known pretty well. He's a brain specialist, and he has a site called brainmd.com. And he says, even if you take one drink, it changes it affects the brain very badly. Now imagine,
like in your life, period, just one drink.
Well, certainly in that moment, and then if you do it consistently, it will affect. You should go on the site and just look at it. He's very brilliant. He's a very brilliant guy. I'm not saying the whole world should be teetotalers. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that. How do we, what do we think about our brain, right? So we know we don't have frontal lobe completion, right, until, what is it, 22?
I think 23, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And yet we're giving kids, pot, and we're giving all sorts of things and all kinds of drugs. Kids are being started on Adderall when they're children, young children. And it's so hard to get off of. It's speed. I don't care what fancy new name they've given it. It's speed. We had other things back in the day, and I always got to lose weight. I'll take Black Beauties. It wasn't about weight. It was about getting high in its own way. So what is that about? Why don't we want to be present? Some people think it's not fun. It's too hard. It feels too responsible. I want to fit in is often a beginning for people. I want to fit in with this, the cool kids or the whatever it is.
Isn't it also pain avoidance? I mean,
pain avoidance.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You don't want to look at it, and while you're acting all goofy, you're just not looking at it. You don't remember your disaster of a life at that point.
You don't remember your disaster of a life at that point. That is exactly correct. Or, you might look fine on the outside. I always looked pretty good on the outside, but I was a mess inside. I was in pain all the time, lonely, heartbroken, feeling unlovable, feeling ugly, feeling, not smart enough to be accepted, whatever it was that I was telling myself at the time. And I've labeled this condition emotional dysmorphia. We know about body dysmorphia. This is emotional dysmorphia. We don't see ourselves the way we really are.
Yeah. We're talking with Dr. Nicki Monti this morning. You can always visit stucknomore.com. That's her website. She's on all the social medias, TikTok, Facebook, all the places. You'll see some of the videos from us on those social medias.
We're going to have to continue
as we run out of time. Yeah, because I really want to dive down that, because I also want to get into maybe next time the idea of what to do with ourselves if we don't, how do we see in ourselves if we're addicted, or if we're just doing something because we want to, or how do we help others, in our family to maybe or family, friends, whatever, to see it. I think that's another road we can go down with addiction, because it's important. So if you have questions for us that you want to ask Dr. Nicki, you can always do it through social media with us or with her. We'll keep you private. If you don't want to put your name out there, we won't say it. We'll keep it private, but at least maybe get you some answers to what you're struggling to or struggling through. At least a snippet. And then of course you can always reach out to Dr. Nicki for actual counseling, not just through the radio.
Yes, and so, I do Zooms with people all over the world.
Yes.
So this is the magic of, I say, thank you, COVID-19.
Right. I mean, that's how we found that we could do all this stuff with technology. So it's great. So Dr. Nicki, thank you as always for joining us for Therapy Thursdays. We'll take a break. We'll be back with some fun here in Touhyville. Stick around.